How do you transform a cavernous cold church into a futuristic house? Or turn a dilapidated old barn into a stylish family home? From industrial workshops to ancient windmills, this series follows brave homeowners
The original wall has come away from the chapel.
as they take on the seemingly impossible challenges
That isn't going to happen until next year, never mind 3 weeks' time.
You're absolutely barreling down.
of transforming historic structures never built to be lived in. We explore the master crafts and ingenious modern design it takes to build an impossible house.
It's another bit of history saved.
In this episode, a determined couple
The water was coming in there, the wheel was turning here.
I've got it in my head. I think it'll be absolutely smashing.
embark on a project of a lifetime.
You see, if we knocked it down, that's like spitting on history, isn't it?
To rebuild this historic watermill.
To see someone actually bringing life back to this, for me personally, is exciting.
That's set to collapse into the River Severn.
I mean, if this crane comes anywhere too close to this edge, we're tipping down.
With ambitious plans to transform it into their dream home.
Look what we're doing to it. It's amazing.
In Cardiff, Wales,
I'm just making some coffee.
Gerald and Susan Hamer
Oh, it's very welcome.
have been happily married for 56 years. They have 2 sons, 2 grandchildren, and a large extended family. Susan used to be an English teacher and Gerald worked in finance. They enjoy travelling and have ventured far and wide, to Brazil, India and Greenland to name a few, but have always felt the call to home and have kept a base in their beloved Wales.
That's a Rowan, and I think there's another Rowan further down.
It was always the place that defined where home was.
Now they're about to embark on their boldest adventure yet, a restoration project of extraordinary scale on the banks of the River Severn in Llanidloes, mid-Wales, where their children grew up.
It's a place we love very much. The kids weren't born there, but we moved there for them to have a super childhood.
My family originate in Llanidloes a couple of generations ago. My grandfather remembers visiting family there when there was a train service from the valleys to mid-Wales.
It's a very special place for us.
Susan and Gerald want to save an iconic part of Llanidloes' past.
I think that would probably put in when a lean-to was put on the other side.
They want to inject a new lease of life into the town's historic watermill. The structure is a treasured local icon, and the couple are aiming to plough all their energy into rebuilding it.
This is really quite a fascinating bit of wall. I think that would probably have been the top of the wheel.
This industrial workhouse milled corn until 1914. It later became a carpenter's workshop and sawmill. The building has been extended and altered over time, adapting to the changes of use. Now, Gerald and Susan want to transform it into a unique 4-bedroom house.
I think it'll be absolutely smashing. I'm feeling very excited.
Watermills along the River Severn date back as far as the 12th century. Pioneering engineers harnessed the forceful flow of the river to power corn mills that ground grain into flour. And it was water, not steam power, that was the driving force behind the early stages of industrialization in the iron and textile mills of the mid-18th century. Gerald and Susan's mill dates back to 1180, when it was the only watermill around for 30 miles. It was originally built to mill corn. A hoist lifted sacks of corn up to the top floor. The sacks were emptied into bins where the corn flowed through a hopper to the millstone floor below. At ground level, a water wheel, hydro-powered by the fast-flowing water, was connected to a revolving shaft which drove the machinery to grind the corn and produce flour. The building is a labyrinth of interconnected structures of different shapes and sizes, and is thought to have last been occupied more than 50 years ago. Reconfiguring this abandoned structure perched on the edge of a raging river will be a huge challenge.
Our garden is in line with the building there. We come up to here. And,
I see, it's this way, the triangle
and we
goes.
propose to build up this riverbank to the same height as the house with things called gabions. These are great cages filled with rocks, and that'll hold back the soil, but more importantly, it'll hold back the river, because when the river's in spate, it's pretty heavy.
To transform this historic structure, Gerald and Susan plan to rebuild what's left of its existing walls with a mixture of old stone and modern bricks. They will then erect a high-tech precision-cut timber flat-pack frame inside to form the floors, rooms and roof. This will be anchored to a network of steel beams. On the ground floor, there will be an entrance hall that leads into an open-plan dining and living room separated by a central fireplace. To the left, there will be a kitchen diner, a utility room and downstairs toilet. Double doors off the kitchen and lounge will lead onto a terrace overlooking the river. Upstairs, there will be 4 bedrooms, all en suite. There will also be a terrace leading off the landing and the master bedroom.
The floor will be even, and we'll have underfloor central heating. That'll make the place immediately warm as you come through the front door. I can see the furniture set. The colour scheme will be pale blue throughout the downstairs and dove grey satin silk curtains. The pictures on the wall, I've already chosen 6 of them.
The Watermill is over 800 years old and has been altered over time. Susan and Gerald have scheduled 15 months to bring this relic back to life. They've got a budget of £350,000, which sounds like a lot, but not when you take into account something this old, in this condition, located right next to a very powerful river. Work begins in winter 2018. The first task for the team is to remove the mill's fragile mid-19th century extension.
We've taken out the mezzanine, such as it was. We've made an assessment about the quality of the walls, and this one I think we will take down and rebuild. That one will stay because it's in good shape. Before Christmas, we hope to get the foundations in and finish the demolition work of the extraneous structures that we no longer require.
Lee Williams is in charge of excavating and laying the foundations for the building. This will be a huge challenge as they must sit on top of an original waterway that runs underneath the mill.
That's exactly how we found it. A build-up of sludge and gravel throughout the years. There was a couple of rats in the beginning. I don't know if you can see any eyes today. We've dug down it up above, 2 meters down to the top of the arch. It's built on solid rock. They've carved through the rock.
A structural engineer must now assess the stability of this tunnel before work on the foundations can begin. Gerald and Susan always knew there was a tunnel feeding water to the mill, but couldn't assess its significance because historic plans don't show its location. What they didn't anticipate was that they'd discover a second tunnel.
Here, you can see the arch over the top of the second tunnel. It ran across the floor here because this was the timber mill, and so we used the original weir to power it. But this one, it ran diagonally through here, which couldn't have been more inconvenient.
What Susan and Gerald discovered is a legacy from 1840 when the mill was in its prime. To feed power to the newly added timber mill, the owners dug a second tunnel. It sits directly under the western corner of the new building and could collapse at any moment.
The walls are bridging over the tunnel as it is, but because we're putting extra weight now on the walls and what have you, there might have to be a different solution than a strip foundation. A structural engineer will now have to come and say what he thinks is possible. It's going to be a headache for the client, Headache for the architect, more than likely now. We have to redo his drawings. We don't quite know what the next step is at the moment. It could be weeks, months maybe.
Lee and his team are forced to down tools. It's a major setback for Susan and Gerald.
We're probably looking at a somewhat expensive solution to this problem. I think we will be looking at several truckloads of concrete before we can say the problem is solved. And along with several truckloads of concrete go several bills. So I wasn't anticipating that. It has slowed us all down. I was hoping by now we would have been laying the floors and been in a position to take accurate measurements for the timber frame that's coming in. Well, obviously we're not there. And so Christmas is coming. Chances are it'll be after Christmas.
Engineers have deemed the original tunnel to be structurally sound, but work can only continue when the second tunnel, which is close to collapse, is made safe. To do this, they must demolish the wall above, then flatten the exposed section of the old tunnel. They must then fill in the tunnel down to solid ground. Next, they must construct a reinforced concrete and steel beam over the top to strengthen the foundations. Only then can they rebuild the wall so work above ground can continue. This additional work will wipe out any hope Gerald and Susan had of completing the build in 15 months and push them way over their intended £350,000 budget. It's now 8 months since work on the build began. While Lee and the team repair the tunnels, in Welshpool work is underway to construct the timber frame, which will form the mill's new internal walls, floors and roof. Tim Wheatley oversees this unique part of the build.
Essentially, it's like a large flat pack. You know, the timber frame panels are all erected here in the factory. They're taken to site. The lads then go off the drawings to fix the panels together. Everything's cut to length, and then the panels are made next door. We're building inside an existing structure. It's scaffolded to the external side of the structure, you know, so the worries just amplify. Totally different to just carting these things to a site, getting them off of a crane and just hoiking them in the plot.
On site, it's taken Lee's team 5 months to reinforce the tunnels, scaffold the building, and start to repair and rebuild the crumbling limestone shell. Today, Tim is on site to oversee the timber frame erection. It's a tight squeeze getting all the kit onto the cramped riverside plot to lift the panels into place.
We'll have the crane coming in now. The lads have got ground floor panels up, so what we'll be landing today when we come in, we'll be landing the steels to take the joists, we'll be landing the panels for the utility, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have enough time to land the joists in as well. I'd like to utilise the crane as much as possible.
They've only allowed a few days for using the crane, so it will be a race to get all this timber work installed and avoid another costly overrun.
You're close to that bank there, drive. So even just entering a site like this, you know, you're up against it straight away. Cars parked, people in the way, and now coming onto a site like this, I mean, it speaks for itself, really, doesn't it? I mean, if this crane comes anywhere too close to this edge, we're tipping down, you know, and if this crane goes down, we're in big trouble, to be fair. So we want them at least 2 to 3 metres away from the bank. There's a lot of weight in that crane, and that's what the lads will twitch over now, so they'll just get the crane in the right position. Are you happy, drive? Veg. So this is a city crane. It's a 40-ton city crane. So hence, you know, specifically for tight areas like this.
Wow. This is the day we've been waiting for. It's amazing. It really is amazing. And I'm impressed at the reach of this crane. It's a difficult site, and these guys have organised it really well to to accommodate the limitations of space.
This is the oldest structure I've ever done, which is brilliant. You know, I'm a local boy, I live 15 miles down the road. You know, I grew up in this area. So to see someone actually bringing life back to this, for me personally, is quite exciting.
Before they can lift the timber panels into place, they must position a network of steel beams. These will tie into the stone walls and support the wooden floor panels.
This will be our first steel beam going in now. This steel has to be spot on. It's got to be spot on accurate. The minimum steel we've got is weighing around about 100 kilograms, up to around about 500 kilograms. That's slightly heavier on the largest span we've got. On a build like this, you would bring a crane in anyway, and you would hoist the panels in with a crane anyway. Ground floor, we've managed to carry ground floor in by hand. It's impossible to carry the steel in by hand.
Hang on!
Watch your fingers, Brad.
Stop!
We've got our first steel in. Sitting nicely on the pad stone there, nicely on the pad stone this side. And then now what the lads will do is joist onto that. We've got to be incredibly careful. A lot of these walls, they're not really tied in with anything. So one knock, and that wall could just go.
It's a difficult site, and it's a brute of a project. And these guys have organised it really well to accommodate the limitations of space. But we're getting there, we're on our way.
The arrival of the huge crane comes as a bit of a shock for garage owner Andrew next door.
I did sort of warn you, but I didn't tell you when. I'm sorry, not many people come to work and find a crane in their yard.
I expect a good breakfast when you're in.
You'll have the best breakfast ever.
Really, the building was basically going to fall down. Give it another like 5 years and it would be just a pile of rubble. So it's nice it's been resurrected. And it will be a nice house with Sue and Gerald doing it.
That's low.
With the steel work in, they can slot the floor and wall panels into position.
Today is a really, really big day. The panels have gone in, the joists have gone in, the steels have gone in, the floor's gone in. I think this just shows when you've got the right people and the right kit and the right skills, things work. Fantastic. Thank you. Good man. Good man.
It takes 2 days to install all the floor and wall partitions. The internal layout of the structure is taking shape, much to Gerald's delight after all the setbacks.
Oh, wow. Got a ceiling.
Just as they gear up to erect the panels that make up the roof, the heavens open.
Welsh weather. You wake up in the morning, it's sunshine outside, you go to work, it's peeing down with rain. It's not ideal, the lads are working in the wet all day, but they'll get the job done. A bit of water don't stop us. We crack on. The only thing we really have to be concerned about is high winds when we're utilising the crane. We've only got the crane today to get all the trusses up on the structure.
The new roof timbers may be straight, but the old stone and brick walls they must sit on are anything but.
We've got approximately a 20 to 30 mil cavity down the bottom here, but as we get at the top, we totally lose the cavity altogether. The masonry gable end is all leaning into the structure. We don't want moisture to trap on there, so we need to take all this gable end down, rebuild that back up, and give us our 50 mil cavity. We're building a kit inside a 700-year-old structure. I mean, nothing is dimensionally accurate. So the fact that we're finding that a gable end's in and we've got to rebuild the gable end back up to give us our cavity, I'd say that's about normal.
It's a relief for Gerald to see this frantic part of the build stay on track despite the torrential weather.
We've got first floor panels up now. We've got roof trusses up there now today.
Amazing.
The utility section's still left to do, but we'll tie that back in.
You can manhandle that.
Yes, we can carry that in from there.
Can't believe how much work you can get through, actually.
And as they make progress, they continue to make discoveries about the old mill.
When this wall was built, we know that the floor level was a metre below where it is now. And then, you see, beneath, we had the spillway turning the wheel. So it had to be a pretty strong wall to support
the weight of the wheel, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. And in the corner here, we can see where the wheel bearings were.
So at some point, another 200 or 300 years on, or whatever it is, This structure's then been put up.
Someone said, let's put another couple of floors
Yeah,
on.
let's go up again.
Yes, before they bring in planning permission. And up it went.
You know, it's taken someone like yourself to see it, put the investment in and want to bring something back.
Indeed. Say no more about the investment. I defy anybody to show me a better water feature.
It's absolutely barreling down. Awesome if you love canoeing.
It's all looking good. Shame about the weather, but I think we're going to get there. Look what we're doing to it. It's amazing. I'm very proud, actually.
Honestly, there's got to be anyone's dream. You know, to find a structure like this, the location that it's in, and to be able to bring it back to life is just absolutely immense. Would I love to do something like this? Hands down, every day of the week. But unfortunately, I don't have the money that the client has, so I'll still be dreaming.
The torrential weather is making it a real struggle for the roofers to seal the newly installed internal timber frame from the elements.
Typical Welsh summer, it's raining. So instead of going up on the roof, I'm bringing the roof down here.
They're moulding strips of lead flashing that will sit under the roof tiles.
We're making 5 of these pieces in total. I'll show you my drawing. If they don't fit, this is why. I wrote it down wrong. That's prepped, ready for welding now. There we go. Well, another piece made.
Once installed, the strip should make the mill watertight and bring it another step closer to being a home. The restoration work involved in transforming an abandoned relic will usually cost more than the purchase price of the structure itself. This reconfigured pump house in Norfolk is a striking example. It was built in 1847 and housed a steam engine to pump water out of low-lying fenlands to stop them flooding. It has been lovingly restored by architect David Long.
The water from the flat landscape drains into this drainage channel that approaches this side of the pumping station and then disappeared under the building through this arched opening. Inside, there was the huge steam pump pumping away, and the water was sucked up from down there and went through the other wall of the building in a large pipe into the River Wissey.
Seeing the potential that others might not, David bought the abandoned pump house for £190,000 in 2015, with the vision to transform it into a one-of-a-kind family home.
The condition was absolutely appalling. It was a building which had not been used since 1974 when they turned the pumps off, but for us it was exactly what we were looking for.
The building was a crumbling shell. The roofs and the windows were beyond repair, but David wanted to retain as much of the old structure as possible.
The bits of the building that we preserved were the walls. With the walls, of course, come the historic openings. There's a selection of openings, existing openings, a selection of openings that have been blocked up in the past as the building changed and adapted to the various generations of steam pump that they had in it. We found piles of spare bricks inside, so we used those to make our alterations to the external walls. After that, the trick was to fit 5 bedrooms into this rather tall, thin building that had the pump in it. So what we did here was constructed a new timber frame construction inside the original structure and is tied to the existing shell. So the new timber structure actually retains the external walls.
This meant 5 bedrooms could be placed in the engine house, but the biggest challenge remained in the depths of the old pump house. Rather than keep the water out, David cleverly turned it into a luxury spa.
This was the place where the water was brought up. This actually goes down 4 meters. So there was a huge pipe which dropped down here where the water was sucked up.
It took 12 months and £260,000 to complete this dramatic transformation. This understated approach means the building still resembles a Victorian pump house.
The part that I suppose we're most proud of is the fact that we've managed to bring it back into use without having to massively change it. It still retains its original feel.
Which is exactly what Gerald and Susan are also striving for with their historic Watermill restoration. In Llanidloes, it's now 10 months since the build began. The roof is finished, making the mill watertight, and all the timber frame is in.
Progress is really great. The interior walls are up. We can't do much more to the interiors until we've done the first fix for the gas, water and electricity. It's coming on really great now. We've come to a point now where we really start needing to be very detailed about the next phases, and the most important will be windows. We have decided that we really want to have triple glaze. But one of the technical problems with these that we have to face is the weight. Triple glazed windows are heavy boys and girls. So hopefully we'll be able to have them delivered with glass panels, removable, so that we can install the frames and then reinstall the glazing. The big window will weigh 200 kilos. And it's difficult, you know, this isn't a flat site. We can't approach it from the riverside. We've got to bring it in through the house.
Even though they're still far from finished, Susan's got her eye on the decor.
I can definitely know the furniture for there. But you see, this is the wall. We could have one of those really elongated dresses that you see, which are about this wide.
Sure.
And something like that, whatever age.
Plenty of walls for paintings.
It won't take up so much room if it's that narrow.
And while the interior will have a contemporary feel, Gerald and Susan want to retain as much of the mill's history as possible.
We'll keep this. We'll put a new door frame in here. It's a lovely feature. We'll clean up the stone chemically, put all this coining either side, and a little brick arch at the top.
Yeah.
The scale of this transformation really is extraordinary, and Gerald and Susan's enthusiasm is infectious, even when it comes to selecting the soft furnishings.
Hello, 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 everybody.
Never mind about foundations, never mind about roof, never mind about walls. We're now dealing with curtains.
Let me have a look.
Yeah, isn't it that one?
That's nearly the colour, though it's striped.
I'd be very precise about this. We all have our opportunity to discuss and to say. But irrespective of what we discuss and say, Susan will make the choice.
That's the book you're going to like.
Right, I'll flick.
There's some nice ones
Also
in there.
lovely colours there.
Yes. This is when I make my choices of colour. And I usually do it here. Yes, I think that might be...
Oh, I thought you were going to have plain.
Well,
It
that's
is
plain.
plain, but it's just got that slub running through it,
Yes.
so it's
Yeah.
giving you the two-tone.
A bit of a weight to it, you see.
And if you want it to be heavier,
Yes,
go for a heavier lining.
yes, yeah.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. You see, there's that, but that compared to
That's
that
what I
is-
thought you were going to have, but I must say I would prefer
For that.
It's not my favourite part of the build, but I have to remain present, and I do enjoy it. But Susan's very good. She knows what she wants, and she will make it look very nice.
There's 4 bedrooms, and I want 4 different. I was thinking of lilac, and I was thinking of green too. Oh, I tell you what. No, I was thinking of that.
Oh yeah, nice.
Right, I like that one. Because you can have pale green curtains and, you know, and bedding.
A
And,
lot of greens
Yes.
tend to go together, don't
yeah,
they? They
absolutely, no problem. So I'll go down, I've chosen, that's 1 bedroom, that's 2 bedrooms, that's a kitchen, definitely that. That is exact colour that I anticipate. Right, 1, 2.
And the green.
And the green 3. Bedroom.
Bedroom, sitting room, bedroom, kitchen.
It's not bad for 10 minutes. Right, I think that's it. I think we're quite happy with those, aren't we? Bye-bye, everyone.
Susan and Gerald really are a tower of strength. Over the next 19 months, they push ahead with the internal transformation. Outside, work begins on a striking, unplanned feature, sparked by a fortuitous discovery. Back in 1840, engineers built a special room on the side of the building to house the new water wheel. More than 180 years on, the addition is still structurally sound. So Gerald and Susan decide to turn it into an extra storeroom and build a terrace on top overlooking the spectacular river. It doesn't take long to lay the concrete base for the terrace. Although it's calm today, the river here can really batter this side of the building. So glass makers Graham Watkins and Gary Hughes are on site to bolt and glue metal fixing brackets into the base to secure the toughened glass panels which will surround the terrace.
It's the strongest stuff you can possibly get. It's harder than concrete.
The glass is about 34 kilo a piece. There's a bit of weight in them. Right, I'm in. It's 13.5 laminated glass, which basically means if you do ever damage it, it won't go into 1,000 pieces, it'll stay in place. When you've got to drop the other side as they've got here, that's what you need, really.
The guys work very carefully to slot and clamp each panel into the brackets.
If you were to touch it right on the edge with something very hard, it will just go, it'll just break. It'll still stay standing, but it'll just shatter. Although, if you got one of those bricks and threw it in the middle, you wouldn't break it. It's just safety glass, but it's very expensive as well.
It takes most of the day to secure all 10 panels into place. Graham and Gary glue a special rubber seal on top to form an airtight connection and moisten the rubber so the steel handrail slides on more easily.
We've got to move quite fast because the water will just evaporate before we can get the stainless on top of it.
That there will be stuck on there now. That won't come off.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. This gives us everything we wanted. It enables us to sit here. It helps to screen the sound of the river. It protects us a bit from the wind and keeps our gin and tonics nice and cool. And I think we're going to have a fabulous terrace here to enjoy.
The unplanned feature has added nearly £8,000 to the cost of the build, but they've created a great new space to relax in.
It might have cost twice as much as a ordinary steel balustrade, but I think it does the job more perfectly and for longer.
It's been just over 2.5 years since Gerald and Susan started work restoring this 800-year-old abandoned mill in mid-Wales, reconfiguring it into a home. They set themselves a budget of £350,000 and a schedule of 15 months to complete this ambitious transformation. But the discovery of hidden tunnels and working on such a difficult site, so close to a fast-flowing river, has doubled the build time and pushed them well over budget. But now the restoration is complete. They've cleaned and repointed what remains of the original stone walls and rebuilt what was missing in brick to create a spectacular 4-bedroom home. To soften the exterior look, they've clad some sections of the modern brickwork with red cedar cladding. The cladding will eventually fade to blend with the original stonework. They've topped the roof with slate from the local Newtown quarry and have also clad the west-facing side of the house in this material to give it extra protection against the harsh weather. They've also repurposed a 120-year-old church door to create a striking entrance. The extensive transformation is just as impressive on the inside. Susan and Gerald have opened up the mill's maze of small rooms to create a large open-plan living space with floor-to-ceiling windows to make the most of the stunning river views. They've worked hard to blend ultra-modern kitchen fittings with original structural features dating back 800 years, and the result is spectacular.
This is the hub of the house. It's where all the major creative activity takes place. Susan's pride and joy, I think.
I like the fact that there's not lots of walking around. You know, you can be working here put it in the oven there.
This is the original wall of the old sawmill. We had to brick up some holes and make new ones and repair things, but when you look at it closely, to me, it's art. I chose to use modern sand and cement mortar. I wanted to be known that these are our modifications to the old wall. This belongs to us. This was how we modified that very, very old wall to become part of the naturalness of the kitchen.
Beyond the kitchen are two split-level living areas with floor-to-ceiling triple-glazed windows, which let the light flood in. The windows are designed for optimal thermal efficiency to keep the cold out and the warmth in. These help to transform this once chilly industrial mill into a warm and inviting home.
This is our living area. We were very fortunate. Because of the natural conditions of the site, we were able to turn it into a split level. And we're at the lower level, where we have the outlook onto the river, which is the main attraction of the whole site, in my view. And so we watch the river coming towards us. It's not often you can get a view like that. You can often have a house alongside a river. For a site where the river comes towards you, this is pretty unique. Between the levels, we have a wood-burning stove with two sides. So down here, primarily, it's watching TV, sitting, watching the river roll by. And then up there, we tend to have it more as a social area for sitting and chatting. We wanted to maintain the sawmill sentiment, and so we have steps coming down to this level. The floor was a bit more complicated, but we rather enjoyed the tiling that tends to come from Iberia. So we brought these floor tiles from Spain.
Tucked away around the side of the house is a hidden gem that also takes advantage of the west-facing views. By restoring this historic relic, Susan and Gerald have tried, wherever possible, to retain the mill's authenticity. A new element is the bespoke timber staircase that leads up to the 4 bedrooms on the top floor. But they've also installed a very modern alternative.
That's a passenger lift. We both decided that we'd have one put in. Walking up and down stairs is tedious, and also it's kind of future-proofing the house. Not just for me, but for anyone who finds themselves less mobile than they would like to be.
In every bedroom, Susan's passion for style and fun shines through, mixing original features with sleek modern fittings and a touch of glamour. With bejewelled lamp fittings, mirrored vases, luxurious white marble bathroom floors and a standalone bath.
This is my very favourite room. The first thing that happened is that I chose the colour. That limited me to what I could have to go with it.
I think it's fantastic. I think Susan's done a fabulous job. All the choices, they match together rather well. The bed, the side tables, even the lights, which I find quite amusing with their little crystal tops, and the ceiling light. This dressing table, I think it's marvellous. In fact, I even think this is marvellous.
Gerald bought that for this room. And here we have the bathroom. Again, a favourite room of mine. Just lovely. The chandelier that I chose, the engineer was beside himself. All those hanging things were off. He had to put them on. And he was so tired, but he liked the results, and so do I.
Susan's eye for detail continues throughout.
And in this yellow bedroom, we have the wall still, and with a beam in it.
And that runs right through into the bathroom as well.
Yes.
In the red master bedroom, there's a full-height balcony with Juliet balustrade to make the most of the spectacular Welsh Hill views.
This is the largest room. It's a totally different colour scheme, but the grey silver curtains sort of frame it all, which I think is lovely.
And a magnificent top terrace with invigorating sounds of the raging river below.
It's just about perfect for sitting there with a cup of tea early in the morning when the sun's rising, or late at night with a nice gin and tonic.
Gerald and Susan have not only breathed new life into one of the town's most important buildings, they've crafted an amazing family home in a place that holds so many memories for them. And they're thrilled with the result.
We didn't compromise. We met the vision, and it's exactly what we expected before we put pen to paper.
But they did compromise with their 15-month build schedule.
There was no prospect of hitting that sort of target. Not that we should have set a target, really.
When you're doing a project like this, you can't get uptight. It won't make it go faster.
It took longer than we expected. Mainly, I would say, it was because of the unforeseen circumstances of the site and previous constructions on the site, the leaks linking the different power sources of the mill. That was something that took a lot of time to understand and to address. And then the usual stuff, building materials not being immediately available. And beyond that, so much of what we have in this house is not off the shelf. The steel girders that we had to conceal in the roof had to be rolled to the size and lengths that we wanted them and galvanized and so on. The same with the terraces and the balconies. Almost everything is bespoke, including the staircase and the fireplace and the doors. 2.5 years to build something like this. So what?
And their £350,000 budget went out the window.
We came to a point where we said clearly this budget was for a dreamer. Now, maybe we are dreamers, but we're going to buy what we need to buy, we're going to pay for what we need to pay, and we're going to finish the job.
But despite all this, Gerald and Susan have everything they wanted.
Upstairs, each bedroom has its own colour and its own personality. The downstairs living areas is blue, calming.
From my point of view, it was perhaps even a little bit better than I'd hoped. We didn't want to, in our terms, destroy the perspective of the old building, but we wanted to renovate without changing where the doors and windows were on the side, the river side. And that has turned out to be perfect. It was an old, tumble-down set of buildings. I hope those people who pass by, and a lot do, and have a long look, I hope they appreciate what we have done.